Hello, dear viewers. Welcome to this edition of the News in English. My name is Sarah Shinhori. As we begin, let us take a look at the headlines. The first Mobile World Congress to be held on African soil has begun in Kigali. The 6th Africa Broadcast and Digital Media Convention has also begun here in Kigali. Rwanda's health sectors continue to prepare to contain the Ebola virus in the event of an outbreak within the country's borders. Welcome once again. Thank you for joining us. I'll be sitting in for Isabel Masozera for this edition. Now to our top story. During his speech at the opening ceremony of the Mobile World Congress Africa Conference here in Kigali, President Paul Kagame pointed out that despite the technological strides the African continent has made, much more needs to be done. This is evident in the fact that even in areas where the infrastructure for broadband connectivity exists, close to half of local residents are unable to access the internet. We have more with Precious Chirezi.
Paul Kagame, the President of the Republic of Rwanda.
Being hosted in Africa for the first time, the Mobile World Congress Africa Conference has convened over 2,000 delegates, most of whom work in technology or ministries of ICT across the globe, with the intent to increase the number of people that own smartphones and enhance the quality and quantity of internet access. President Paul Kagame has shed light on the technological strides Africa has made, like enhancements in infrastructure. However, that does not take away from the fact that these achievements can be surpassed.
Digital technologies are a catalytic force for development in Africa. Yet, almost half of adults in low and middle income countries do not have access to the internet, even when living in areas with broadband coverage. Digital infrastructure is key, but it's not enough. To leverage the potential of connectivity, investments in digital skills and literacy must be integrated in our national policies. In Rwanda, with the support of the private sector, Kigali Innovation City aims to develop a competitive and productive workforce and conducive environment for startups.
The Rwandan head of state went on to urge other countries to pave the way for tech-savvy young people to create and demonstrate innovations that may be potential antidotes to Africa's challenges.
Africa is home to creative and tech-savvy youth looking for the right platform to contribute solutions. We cannot afford to reduce them to a statistic only, or sit idle by as they seek opportunity outside of Africa. Our young people have a lot to offer. We must do our part and keep our promise to them.
President Paul Kagame also emphasized that progression and development should not be attained at the expense of inequality and discrimination.
To leave no one behind means a number of things as well, and we must recognize that digital transformation is not a zero-sum game where progress must come at the expense of the most vulnerable. Not at all. Everyone, regardless of status, gender, or nationality, must benefit if we want to create lasting change.
Furthermore, he conveyed that the emerging digital developments shaping our economic future ought to work hand in hand with good governance to achieve Africa's full potential. Statistics from the Rwanda Utilities Regulatory Agency record the number of phone carriers in the country to have been slightly over 11 million in August 2021, and 85.6% of every 100 residents can access a phone. Precious Chidezi, RTV News.
Staying on this issue, last year on the African continent, cashless transactions amounted to $16 billion, an indication that digital modes of payment are gaining traction. Here in Rwanda, and indeed all across the continent and beyond, people quickly understood the necessity of this type of technology at the height of the COVID-19 pandemic.
At least for the last 2.5 years. If you asked me the color of 1,000 note or 5,000, honestly, I've forgotten. I don't remember. I don't remember what color our cash looks like now. But over the last 2 years, the use of digital payment system has increased significantly in mobile banking, mobile payments, payment cards, as well as internet banking. And we've seen numbers grow to really back this growth that we've seen at the GDP level. We've seen that just in 1 year, 2021 and 2022, mobile banking subscribers in Rwanda have increased by 8% in just 1 year, between the last year and this year. We've also seen that the number of agents providing banking services also increased by 33%. And all these numbers show that there's still a lot of untapped potential, which is really what we want to bring to the fore in the work that Africa Nenda does, but also in our own financial inclusion targets as a country.
However, serious challenges still exist in the use of these types of transactions.
Despite this period of economic growth and indeed optimism, and indeed the dynamic shifts we've seen in technology, we note that today 350 million Africans continue to remain financially excluded. And this is even despite the fact that a lot of growth and momentum in instant payments are being rolled out across the continent. The issue is that when you look at critically the rollout of those instant payment systems, you find that they're quite geared, unfortunately, towards a certain group, and they continue to rely on large volumes and high transactions in terms of the cost and the amount of value that's being pushed through. We also note that today, when you look at the information asymmetry issues, and there is a high level paucity of information around digital financial services.
Of the 1.4 billion people living on the African continent, only 40% own smartphones, and another 44% are unable to access the internet even when the infrastructure they need is in reach. Moving on, those involved in the media sector point out that robust infrastructure and access to finance are among the needed factors in the journey of transforming media networks into fully fledged digital outlets. This was reiterated at the Africa Broadcast and Digital Media Convention currently taking place here in Kigali. Olive Nete with more.
Participants of the Broadcast and Digital Media Convention Africa are closely reviewing what can be done for African media outlets to embrace digital world while providing content to their clients and addressing the challenges facing the industry in the transition from linear to digital world. The chief executive publisher at the Broadcast Media Africa, Benjamin Pius, points out that the media is at the forefront in accelerating the development of Africa.
I always argue when we have these meetings, I always argue, and you guys know it, that the mind of our people is controlled by what we do as broadcasters. That is why we are in a special position to either send this continent up where it should belong, or keep it down and not in the Committee of Nations that we need it to be. It is our job, it is your job as broadcasters to fashion a way to make sure that that becomes a reality.
However, some of the players in the broadcasting world and other stakeholders note that they have no choice but to embrace technology in the dissemination of information, though there are still a number of challenges throughout the transformation.
Yes, today we talk about the digital divide we speak about the OTTs, we speak about the beauty that technology today offers. Certain fundamentals, if they are not in place, this may remain a pipe dream for many. Because within our own settings where we are operating from, until such time that broadband is readily available and affordable for that matter, aspects of logging online will remain a challenge. Part of what we need to do is to make sure that we also inform our principals, the political leadership of our respective countries, to support us financially so that we can make these dreams come true. Because in the life of a public broadcaster, access to funding is not that simple.
But with advancements in the digital space, the future of broadcasting shows that resilience will come from making creativity and innovation at the heart of what we do. And as audiences demand, as the demands of the audience keep changing, the future shows that linear broadcasting will soon become a platform of the past. Our continent, the African continent, cannot afford to lag behind. Our industry turns to operate within the much-voted digital ecosystem. We must leverage the dynamics of this new digital environment and, of course, use it to deliver enhanced value to our citizens who deserve quality content just like the rest of the world.
The spokesperson of the government of Rwanda, Yolande Makolo, urged media outlets to work closely with their respective governments for the improvement of the media industry.
It's critical that broadcasters partner closely with their governments and regulators so that together we can continuously improve the sector, innovate, and give the best quality service to your customers and our citizens. Here in Rwanda, we continue to make decent progress in the rollout of ICT infrastructure across the country. This is because we want to see more Rwandans, especially talented young people, seize the prospects that digital technology presents. This talent and drive is universal, but we need to continue to work together to make sure that it is matched by opportunities, real opportunities, so that young Africans can show us what they can do, how far they can take this continent.
Statistics reveals that it took radio broadcasting 38 years to reach to an audience of 50 million in the world, 13 years for television, while it took only 4 years for the internet to reach its audience. Olive Nete, RTV News.
Staying with that convention, the representatives of state and independent media outlets on the African continent have stressed that the state media establishments have the responsibility of protecting the values of their countries without neglecting to serve the general public as advocates on important matters. Olive Nete continues.
Advocating for the people and working together for the common interests of the country is part of what representatives of the state media in different countries on the African continent elaborated as their daily duty. Tombi Makwetu, Acting Chief Director of Broadcasting Policy and Creative Industries at the Department of Communications and Digital Technologies in South Africa, explains more on what can be done for media companies to gain credibility and income.
Public broadcasters have been very relaxed because they never thought that there would be competition. They have to make sure that they keep up to the game.
Sure.
Yeah.
How about the regulators? How do you see the regulation that may be governed there, both public and private?
I think the point that has been raised is to say one of the challenges that are emerging is that revenue, advertising revenue, is actually moving away from the public broadcasters to these competitors, your over-the-top services, video sharing platforms.
Rumors on social media and the lack of trust in the independent media are some of the challenges that were faced at the beginning, although now this platform is currently on a satisfactory level, according to some players in the media industry.
Social media is full of people who give information, including rumors, and use it often, and sometimes you find people who like it. Because even though there are readers who know for sure that it is not true. There are some who love it and still watch it for entertainment. This is a big challenge.
According to Salihu Abdullahimid Dembos, the Director General of the Nigeria Television Authority, the role of the government in supporting its media will continue to be crucial for the development of the sector.
Government must see reason why it must fund public media. It is very, very important. Important at least for public interest and also for national security. Because just like one of my colleagues did say here, there are certain programs that are of national interest, but they might not perhaps appeal to the commercial world. You understand? So in cases like this, government must have to come in to fund such programs. So if you look at it, what one is saying in essence, that we must look at the national interest as against commercial interests.
It's a 3-day conference that brings together representatives of African audiovisual media companies. Olive Nete, RTV News.
With the threat Ebola poses in the region, Rwanda's health sector has continued with measures to contain the virus if the need were to arise. Prince Manzi with more on that.
29 nurses are being trained on different systems and acquiring skills on how to take care of a patient possessing Ebola virus symptoms. They are using ambulance as one of the basic services provided by the health sectors in taking care of the patients. The trained nurses say that the skills gained will help them in not only saving the patients' lives, but also theirs in general.
With the systems in place, we are ready, because when you do not neglect any of the steps learned, the chances of being infected become less.
There's always risks in this work that we do, but the main purpose of being trained is to minimize the risks. I can say that we are ready, like 99%.
99%.
The planning coordinator in the Emergency Medical Services Division in the Rwanda Biomedical Center, Jean-D'Arc Kenyinawankusi, states that they have the resources and capacity needed to prevent the Ebola virus from spreading, as it is not the first virus that they have handled.
We are more ready and confident, as this is not the first pandemic that we have handled. Ebola and coronaviruses have common steps in preparations, and these skills are not new to our trainees, as they have learned them in schools, and we always learn in our work as well.
Dr. Menelas Nyeshimana of the Ebola Virus Disease Command Post states that fighting against the spread of the Ebola virus is not for the health services only, but also the citizens in general should work together to stop the breakthrough of Ebola in Rwanda. The citizens should prevent themselves and comply with the guidelines as we speak of them day to day. Rwandans should always be ready and informed on what to do in case someone is coming from places where Ebola has been found. A part of the 29 nurses trained in Kigali, there are other trainings to take place in all districts for the preparedness and prevention of Ebola virus that took lives of many in the neighboring states. Prince Manzi, RTV News.
Well, thank you again for taking the time to join us here on Rwanda Television, and goodbye.